Today I'm working on the V12 build again. So I've built this from a Mercedes S600 and this is my own custom design mid-engine supercar. The goal today is just to get a little bit further on the project. I really want to get this engine started up this year. This is my first video for 2026. So I've got the original Zonda engine mounted in the back. This is the 6 litre that came in the Zonda C12. And then later Zondas used a bigger version of this engine, a 7 litre or 7.3. Which is the AMG version, but this is still one of the biggest and best Mercedes engines ever made. So there's quite a few bits of electronics needed to run this engine. On this side, I'm going to have all the ECUs. Over here, I'm going to put the relays and all the fuses. So here's the original fuse box that came with the Mercedes. I need to mount this somewhere in my car, ideally in the engine bay. That's going to enable me to get this engine running on the original Mercedes electronics. So let's get started. So I'm using this because it's actually quite lightweight and it's got a lot of good features. This top part opens so you can access all the fuses in there, as well as this whole top section unscrews. So if I need to do a wiring repair or something a bit more involved, I can do that. So let's see just how much this weighs. So it's only 1.5 kilos, which is great for a part like this. Even if I made it out of carbon fibre, I don't think I can shave much weight off that. It's a really well designed part. So that's why I'm going to use this. So now I need to see how I'm going to mount this because it is such a weird shape. It's got this weird cut on one side and I've only got those 4 bolt points to mount it onto the car with. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so I think the first thing I want to do is make some kind of plate that matches these bolt points. Then I can put that down here and get it tack welded in place just so I can get this thing positioned correctly. From there, I can add extra supports and get this thing really securely mounted in the car. So let's make a start on that plate. First, I'm going to start by copying the shape onto a piece of paper. Now I can cut it out. So that's a good starting point for the shape. You can see exactly where the bolt holes need to go. Now I can transfer that over to some steel. So that's the template marked out. These holes don't actually have to be that accurate because it's all on rubber bushings. So even if I'm slightly off there, it really doesn't matter too much. Now I can get this cut out and then we can finalise the shape. If you're enjoying this, give me a quick thumbs up. It takes a lot of work making these videos. I've also got memberships if you want to support me further. You'll get behind the scenes content on the V12 build, as well as a look at some of the projects. Big thanks to all the members for helping me keep doing this stuff and keep sharing this. That's the plate now drilled. I still need to do some final finishing, but I'm going to see how much it weighs. So that's still less than 1 kilo. That's 930 grams. And I'm probably still going to be cutting a hole in the middle for the wires to pass out of there. So even though it's quite a thick metal, 3.5 millimeters thick, it's still going to be plenty light enough for this kind of application. Now I'm going to test fit it onto this box. To do that, I've got to remove the lid just to make it easier to get to these bolts. So we've got screws here in these corners. So that's the box with the lid removed. Now I can see how this plate fits. That's the plate now mounted on the box. I've used some temporary spacers just to get this plate mounted absolutely square, since the box is all at very weird angles. So now this is square to these location points on each side and square to the points here down to the edge of the plate. These nuts will be replaced with aluminium spacers once I've done the fabrication of the car and we come back and do the final painting stage. All of this will get tidied up. So now let's see how this fits on the car, see what angle it needs to all sit at, and prepare the parts that are going to attach this onto the chassis. So this is going to fit down here. You can see this plate's going to be quite a good fit. Got just enough clearance to the wheel there, about 1 inch, and about 1 inch to the fuel tank on this side. So next I need to make something that's going to attach from this plate down to the chassis. So I've designed a bracket that fits down here. It's like a triangular shape with lots of bolt holes. And then I'll have an extra plate that fits on here and welds to this. That means I can easily change it if I want to change the design, or if I want to change this box at a later time to something else. I can easily just unbolt the whole box and bolt in a new bracket. So I'm trying to make everything on this car modular, so everything on bolts. Everything's really easy just to upgrade. Now I can get making some of these plates. Now I can cut these parts out. That's the plates roughed out. I did start chopping this to size, but then I realised I've got to make this big hole for the chassis, and it's easier if the plate's complete. I've got the hole saw here that I'm going to use. If I keep the plate intact, then it means it's nice and easy to put a hole in. If you try and do it on the edge of a plate, it often wobbles and then makes a mess. So I'm going to chop them out first, then I'm going to trim these to size and get these finished off. They're now drilled and ready for the final trimming. That's both plates now trimmed to size. I now need to deburr them. Then they're ready to be stripped of this yellow paint and painted with weld-free primer, so I can get these welded onto the chassis. That's both parts painted in the weld-free primer. Now I can weld them onto the chassis. That's both these plates tack welded in place. I've just put a few light tacks around them just to hold these. Now I can start designing the parts that are going to hold this whole thing down to them. So I've done some work off camera and made these side plates. This is the shape of plate that I came up with. It just means it's held really nicely down the back of there, and I've tacked it all together. I've also made this part here so that the box can be fully supported, and I've got these plates just going up here and bolting on. These are plenty strong enough. I know it may not look it with the amount of stick out I've got here, but a single one of these plates is strong enough to support my entire body weight right on the end. So this is massively overbuilt. It's going to do the job really well. I'm probably going to come back and lighten it up at a later time. I'll chop out some more of this and probably some of this side. This bit's going to need a big hole for the wires to pass through, but I'm not sure yet what kind of grommet I'm going to use. So I'm going to leave that for when I'm ready to do the wiring. Now I can unbolt this bracket, do all the final welding and get this thing painted. So here's a closer look of what I've done. You can see I've got the brackets on each side. This whole thing's just tacked together for now. But I've got all them bolt holes that join down to the chassis. This thing's super sturdy. It doesn't actually weigh too much. So this is going to work really well. Give me a really strong mounting point to mount the fuse box, and the coolant tank is going to attach onto this somehow. I'll also do a similar setup on the other side when it comes to mounting the ECU box. I think this is going to work quite nice. Now I can get this bolted on the car so we can see what it looks like, fully complete. Now I can refit the fuse box. So that's the fuse box installed on the car. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I've got plenty of space around this thing. It's going to work really well, and it's plenty strong enough. I can sit on the whole fuse box. So there you go, for anyone that's thinking the bracket's not sturdy enough. It's easily strong enough for what it needs to do. I'm probably going to lighten it at a later time, drill some holes in it, remove a lot of excess metal, but for now I just need to fabricate this thing, get all the bits of this car together so I can get the engine started and start getting all the systems running, and then we can prepare for the monocoque, the body. This just gets me one step closer to getting this thing up and going. I hope you enjoyed this one. There's a lot of fabrication in there, getting that fuse box holder all together, but it's turned out fantastic. It's a really challenging part to mount, so I'm glad I've got that out of the way. That's one of the harder parts. The ECU is all square and flat, so that's going to be a lot easier. So that's going to be another thing we'll tackle. Mounting that means I'm one step closer to getting the wiring harness in the car. I need to get all these electrical junction boxes and all the modules mounted solidly so they don't move, and then I can run my wires to them and chop my wires or extend wires, whatever needs doing. Once we've got the engine going and all the mechanical systems running on this car so it can actually creep forward and back under its own power, then I'm going to do the whole body work last. That ensures the body fits on the car really well, and it's just the last step to get the whole thing up and going and being a real car. I'm making every panel unbolt. I'm not riveting or gluing any panels on. I want this thing to be easily serviced, so I can just put many miles on it and just dump loads of miles on this thing. I'm using the donor ECU. I'm using as much Mercedes stuff as possible just to keep this whole thing as reliable and usable as possible. That's because I tested the engine before I took it out of the donor car. I tested all the systems. I got everything working. So that enables me to be able to put this together and know it's going to work and be able to drive. At a later stage, I can do aftermarket ECUs and tune the engine, that kind of stuff. But since the engine's standard, there's almost no point. I may as well leave it as it is. It's had thousands of development hours in different countries, different temperatures, environments, humidities, different oxygen levels. So it's designed to be as reliable as possible, even though it's maybe not quite at its peak power level. This is about 400 horsepower. It's going to be fine for what I want. The car's going to weigh less than 1,200 kilos, so less than the weight of a Mini, but double the horsepower, so it's going to be really fun driving experience. Thanks to all the members who support me. It really does make a big difference, and it enables me to keep doing this stuff, documenting all these projects for you guys. The only way this works is off memberships. I can't do this off sponsors because I've not got the millions of views that other bigger channels have. Recording these builds just takes a ton of time. It takes probably 3 times as much time as it would if I just built the car off camera. So this is really quite a big commitment. Anyone that joins members will get to see some of the projects, some of the bits I'm working on. As far as the main bit of the channel, I'm just focusing on this because I want to show people like this is the car that I'm building and it will get built. It's not going to be one of these things that doesn't get finished. This is the main focus right now.